Good evening, folks. Welcome to Woodstock Regional Artists. I'm your host, Sal Michio, coming to you from my home studio in West Hurley, New York, along with our producer engineer, David Lax, at the controls in Studio A in Saugerties, New York. Tonight, we have a very special guest. She's a musician specializing in steel guitar, dobro, and lap steel. She is none other than Cindy Cashdollar. Good evening, Cindy. How are you
Good
tonight?
evening. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. So you grew up in Woodstock and sort of honed your skills around some folks like bluegrass musician John Harold, blues musician Paul Butterfield, and Levon Helm and Rick Danko of the band. Those are some great folks to hone your skills with.
Yeah,
You were kind of lucky at that time.
this was a very fortunate place, a beautiful place, but a very fortunate place to grow up. I think for obvious reasons, not only for the history, but there were so many amazing artists here to learn from and also see live at a very young age. So
Right.
I was lucky.
Right. So then you headed south. You headed to Nashville. When did you do that? When did you leave Woodstock to head for Nashville?
I moved to Nashville in 1992, only because at that time, as you and probably of a lot of people that were living here at the time or still live here, things just started drying up as far as playing in clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ready for a change of pace after living here for so long. So my husband at the time, Frank Campbell, and I moved to Nashville. And just because living there, it's like if you heard a rumor that somebody was looking for somebody to join the band, you kind of heard it first. By the time it filtered to Woodstock, it was old news. I just felt like Nashville was the place to be, and some friends of Woodstock had moved there and invited us to stay there with them. And we were there for 6 months, and then I got the job with Sleep at the Wheel, and we moved again. But so Nashville was kind of a blip on the radar, really.
It was good timing. It was good timing.
Yeah, it was.
That's great. I've checked out your discography on a website, and you have been on 61 plus albums.
I never can, but it's a lot. Yeah.
What do you do with your spare time? It says here that you've won 5 Grammys with Asleep at the Wheel from 91 to 99. Tell me about winning Grammys and the feel of that. That must be awesome.
I mean, it's very surreal, but also, I mean, the whole, thing about going to the Grammys, of course, is very exciting, and it's an honor for many reasons, obviously. But when I got the actual first physical Grammy home, I just thought it just to me represented years of a lot of miles and a lot of hard work. And for that reason, it meant a lot, not just the physical statue itself, of course, is always nice to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And people see it and say, oh, wow, you got a Grammy. But to me, it just represents a history, more or less, of, personally, I think, what it took to get one,
The blood, sweat, and tears that went into it.
Yeah, and the joy. And sometimes just being at the right place at the right time, perseverance. But it's an honor in a lot of ways, I would say. Yes.
Right. I guess you've been on other Grammy-winning albums. One with Dylan, was it? Tell us about that.
Yes, I was on Bob Dylan's Time Out of Mind, which won the Grammy for Album of the Year. And also the Cajun group, Beausoleil. It was an album called Cajun Jeton. And so we won a Grammy for that as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. You have your own label, Silver Shot Records, which you have a couple of your solo album. First solo album was in 2004, Slideshow. Mm-hmm. And your current album in 2020 is Waltz for Abilene. That's a great album, and I've heard some tunes off it already.
Thank you.
And we'll probably hear something from that a little later on.
It was a long time. It was a long time between those albums, right?
It certainly was.
2004 to 2020.
Yeah,
Yeah.
16 years, but hey, well worth it though. Some good albums here.
Thank you.
You've played with some great luminaries. I'd like to just mention a few of them. Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, Jeff Muldaur, Audie Trom, Leon Redbone, Livingston Taylor, Red
Happy
Volkert.
Yeah.
Leon Redbone, Livingston Taylor, Red Volkert, Carla Olson, and Ryan Adams. What a group of folks to play with. Fantastic group of folks. And I think what we'll do right now is go to the first video, which is the Leon Redbone video. It's called Old Familiar Blues. Here is Cindy Cashdollar.
Sunset sure has left me lonely, thinking about you, one and only. Now she's gone and I am all alone. Hey, oh familiar blues, make it strong, make it sweet, make it so that both ends meet. Sing out the blues, that old familiar blues. It'll not stop, you got to keep rolling. Listen to me, there's something worth knowing. The blues ain't nothing but a good man feeling bad. Play that old familiar blues. Make it right, make it tight. Sing it to me all through the night. Sing out the blues, that old familiar blues.
That was a nice video with Leon Redbone. Tell us, how did you join up with him?
I heard a rumor that he was looking for a dobro player. And so this probably was in, I even forgot what year, probably in the late 80s. But I, through a roundabout way, got hold of somebody and anyway, found out that Leon was playing at the Turning Point in West Nyack, which is not far from here. Mm-hmm. And so I did get hold of Leon Redbone's manager, and they said, why don't you just go to the Turning Point tonight and or this afternoon and just show up, Leon. I'll tell Leon you're coming. Anyway, long story short was I did the sound check, and then he asked me to play the entire evening. And then after the show, he said, well, we're leaving tonight. Okay, you want to leave tonight? He had such a dry, great sense of humor. And I said, no, I can't leave tonight, but where are you going to be in 2 days? I will meet up with you. And so that's what I did. And spent 5 years with Leon touring and recording.
5 years.
And a wonderful man. It was very heartbreaking to me that we lost him last year, last May. But, a lot of people, yes, he was eclectic. But what a wonderful artist. I felt very, very lucky to have worked with him and recorded. And he always had such a love for the really old music, like, extremely old, to the point where even some of the songs that we all know, they're in the American Songbook, like Ain't Misbehaving or Shine On Harvest Moon, he knew the actual introductions to those songs that had been long since lost, So it was very educational and very fun.
It was quite unique, yes.
Yeah.
In 2003, the Academy of Western Artists recognized you as Instrumentalist of the Year and gave you an award in the Western swing music genre. Mm-hmm. And you were also inducted into the Austin Chronicle Hall of Fame in 2011 and 12. Tell us about those.
Well, I had moved, in 92, I was hired by the Western Swing Group, Asleep at the Wheel, Ray Benson and Asleep at the Wheel. So I moved to Austin. That's where they were based at, and they toured so much. That's where you had to move. Mm-hmm. And so I spent 8.5 years with Asleep at the Wheel playing Western swing, and they are amazing. And Western swing, I think, is either a misunderstood music, or people just quite aren't sure what it is. But it really is a melting pot of blues, big band, jazz, swing, country. But I had a very wonderful run with them, and in that time really honed my skills on steel guitar, because I took up the steel guitar at a very late age. So when I won the award for that you just mentioned from the Academy of Western Artists, I had since left Asleep at the Wheel on good terms, but apparently Texas recognized me for, yes, I was very steeped in that music, beautifully Western swing. And so I was very lucky, because, boy, that is a very competitive pool, especially in Texas for that genre. So that was a very honored award.
Yeah, I think country has more ladies than any other genre of music, and at least that's the way I see it. I'm not sure if
I don't know. It's really branched out. And I think a long time ago, like when the Carter family was around, there certainly was a lot of women in folk music and country music, but particularly country music. Women didn't really tour on their own. It was looked very down upon. Mm-hmm. So when you hear, Cousin Amy, that was one of the famous ones. There was one of the women was always called Sister Somebody, Cousin Somebody. Even if they weren't related to the group they were touring with, they had to be named as a relative. Otherwise, it was very badly looked upon for a woman to be touring by herself. Wow. I think it's really branched out. And yes, there certainly always have been a lot of female artists in the country music genre.
Right. Very interesting.
And blues as well, and a lot now.
A lot now. Yes. I'd like to go to the next video. It's a solo of yours. It's called Foggy Mountain Rock. When I went to look it up on on YouTube. It had over 250,000 downloads. Fantastic song. So let's go and listen to Foggy Mountain Rock, Cindy Cashdollar. Nice. That was a sweet, sweet melody, Cindy. What brought you to writing that tune?
Well, Foggy Mountain Rock was originally, it was written by Josh Graves, who was a very famous dobro player who played with Flatt and Scruggs. And Josh Graves, I always say, put the blues in bluegrass. You know, he was the one that bent all the notes. You know, before Josh Graves came along, the dobro was really kind of a country kind of, you know, that's all its role really was. It's very maudlin, kind of weeping country, or maybe almost like a comical instrument in some ways, like on the Grand Ole Opry. But anyway, Josh really just he just nailed it, and so he had a very distinct style. And when I was learning dobro here, I guess I was around 20 years old. My teacher was Charlie Ferrara, and he was a big Josh Graves fan. So I learned Josh Graves' style, and I wanted to honor him on my new album. And so that was the tune I chose for the new album. I mean, that video you just played obviously is me by myself. It was a clip I did for the Fretboard Journal magazine. Mm-hmm. In their offices. But on the new album, Albert Lee is playing on that track with me. But I loved that song. It's bluesy, it's bluegrass, and it's got a lot of great energy. And so anyway, that was my nod to Josh Graves and my dobro teacher, Charlie Ferrara. Even though I played it on lap steel.
It was excellent. All right, so you authored a series of instructional tapes, videos actually, on your instruments, and released them. The first one was Slideshow, which we mentioned previously.
Well, actually, just going back to the instructional DVDs, those are all on homespun tapes. There's 2 for dobro, and there's 2 for steel guitar, and Happy Trauma, of course, has a homespun tape company. So the first one I did was when they was probably in the late 80s, from beginning dobro. which still sells. So anyway, I've got 2 on dobro and 2 on steel, and I love to teach, and so I think that it's great now that people have so much availability on the internet to learn, so I'm glad that those are available for people.
Terrific. Also, during the fall of 2004, you were a member of Ryan Adams' band, the Cardinals, playing steel guitar live on stage, and also on an album called Cold Roses.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'd like to go to the next video, which features Ryan Adams. It's called Shining Through the Dark, and this is on the Conan O'Brien show.
Yes, and that was done much later than Cold Roses. That was done, I guess, 6 years ago. I recorded with Ryan again, and we were actually in L.A. recording the album with Glenn Johns producing. And so anyway, we got the opportunity to do the Conan O'Brien show in the midst of recording that album, which is why Don Was is also with us, because he was also on those sessions for the album that we were doing.
Well, let's watch the video, and it's called Shining Through the Dark. Here is Cindy Cashdollar.
He is joined for a special performance tonight by Don Was on bass and Cindy Cashdollar on dobro. Please welcome Ryan Adams.
Whatever happened to the old me? Whatever happened to love? Whatever it was, it doesn't matter now. Those days went speeding by, left us in the dust. Cars on empty, rattles in the rust. Whatever this is permanent. A red wine stain or a scar. Like one of those, if you flip the negative, you knew who I was, even before I even knew. Now just look who we are. And these wheels turn fast, these wheels turn bright, reflecting our love. The moon goes shining, shining through the darks of the night, shining through the darks of the night. You know the house that I wanna buy it for you. It's in my head when my head hits the pillow, and I'm lying here next to you. Whatever this is everything. My feet are sore and blue, and everything you know I ever did before was just to get me back here with you. And these wheels turn fast, these wheels turn bright, reflecting our love. The moon goes shining, shining through the darks of the night. These wheels turn fast, these wheels turn bright, reflecting our love. The moon goes shining, shining through the darks of the night, shining through the darks of the night, shining through the darks of the night, shining through the darks of the night.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Ryan, thank you very much. Ryan Adams, ladies and gentlemen.
Conan gets some good folks on there, and I'm glad you were able to get on that show. It's some good. He has some good musicians on, and
Conan is great, and of course, Jimmy Vivino his band leader, is so amazing, who we were also fortunate to get to see here at the barn in Woodstock when that was happening. Jimmy Vivino is such an amazing encyclopedia of music. But Conan himself is a great guitar player. Wow. Yeah. So he definitely, I always enjoyed his all the variety of musicians he had on that show.
That's great. From 2005 to 2008, you played with Ilana James, Red Volkart, and sometimes with Nate Rao as the High Flyers. And you appeared on the Prairie Home Companion a number of times, playing and also played in the Austin area. Prairie Home Companion, that was a nice show. I was so sorry to see it go. Was that fun? I guess that was fun doing that show, wasn't it?
It was very fun. It was very interesting after hearing that show on the radio, like we all did for so many years, to actually go and see behind the scenes what actually occurs on that show, because it is live. And as you just mentioned, I did appear on there in Austin with Ilana James and Rob Volkart, but prior to that, I, throughout the years, have been a guest artist on that show, just of the house band, playing with the house band. And when Garrison Keillor had the show. And wow, it was, you just never knew it was coming, because you would spend a day rehearsing, but during the actual show, the production manager would be walking across the stage. And of course, it's a live audience in the Fitzgerald Theater, so everybody can see. But there's a production manager walking across the stage going, cut number song 8, or, cutting last 5 minutes of sketch, please be ready. I mean, everything would change so much at the last minute. But nobody in Radioland ever heard it. But all of us, they were like scrambling with their shorts, and, it's live. You can't screw up. But that was a great show to do. The Fitzgerald Theater was a beautiful venue to play. And just the house band was a wonderful bunch of people to work with. So I miss the years of doing that show.
Good show. Definitely a good show.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Red Volkart, here's the next video that we're going to play. It's called Remington Ride with Cindy Cashdollar. Cindy, that was a jumping tune. I love the way you play steel. Tell me about playing with Red.
Red Volkart is, I think, a national treasure, and he, to me, he's like the guitar player, much like Bill Kirchen. But Red, of course, I met in Austin. I lived in Austin, Texas. Even, after I moved there in '92, and I toured with the Sleep at the Wheel for 8.5 years. When I left them to pursue other genres of music, I stayed in Austin, and Red Volkart was one of the people I met. But Red toured with Roy Orbison when he was very young. Red was with Merle Haggard for, 6 years at least. And he is just, as you can see in that clip, just an amazing guitar player. And when I wasn't on tour, I would play with the Red every Saturday at the Continental Club in Austin on South Congress Avenue, which most people who have been to Austin know it's a great roots venue. And so I played with Red for quite a while. And that clip that we just played, Remington Ride was written by Herb Remington, who played steel guitar for Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. And Herb, later on in years, went on to build steel guitars. So that steel guitar I was playing, Herbie had built for me. We had become very close friends. And so anyway, that playing with Red Volkart was always fun and always exciting. It was like a ping pong match because he was so incredibly versatile and fast. So it was like constantly catching a ping pong ball. He'd throw you something and man, you better catch it and like immediately play something and throw it back. Wow. So that was very fun.
A great story, yes. So 2006, you toured with Van Morrison and promoted his country and western album, Pay the Devil. And you also appeared with Van at the Austin City Limits Festival. Mm-hmm. And released one of his albums was live at the Austin City Limits Festival, which was a limited edition. Mm-hmm. And you also appeared on a Keep It Simple, which was another nice CD that he had put out.
Because I remember, I never met him when he was living here, but when I was, I guess, maybe 12 years old, 13 years old, 12, I saw my first live concert at the Woodstock Playhouse. And it was a benefit for John Harold, whose house had burned down.
Right, remember that.
So they had, many different guest artists. Wonderful. Odetta, Happy and Ronnie Traum, John Hammond Jr., and Van Morrison. And so, decades later, when I was hired by Van to tour with him and work with him, I told him, I said, I saw you and I was at the Playhouse when I was 12 years old, and he remembered every single person that had been on that show.
Wow.
His memory was unbelievable. So it was very nice. It was very sweet throughout the year of touring. He liked to talk about Woodstock. And he would often ask me questions about people, were they still living here? Was this bar, was this restaurant still here? So I think he had very fond, obviously to me, he had very fond feelings of his time here in Woodstock.
Right.
That was what I got from him.
And how long did you tour with him?
About a year or so. Yeah.
That was nice.
But it was, I was hired to just do a month with him to promote the country album Pay the Devil. Mm-hmm. And then ended up doing the rest of the year. On those shows, I think we do 2 songs from that CD. And we also did a TV special at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, which that was Van's first time ever in Nashville, which I was very surprised at. Wow. Really. You would think he would have been at the Ryman or played in Nashville a number of times, but no, that was his first time.
First time. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, this next video is a recent video done in Bearsville. It's with the Restless Age, and you are the featured artist. It's called Waltz for Abilene.
Hi, I'm Cindy Cashdollar. This is The Restless Age. We're coming to you from the Bearsville Theater in Woodstock, New York, in the heart of the Catskill Mountains. And this is the title cut from my new album, Waltz for Abilene.
So, Cindy, there's something about Eric Clapton's charity event. What's that all about?
Yes, it was. It's actually a part of Eric Clapton's Crossroads Center in Antigua. Eric Clapton's wife, Malia, last year started a charity called Turn Up for Recovery. And Turn Up for Recovery is to raise money for people that need treatment, addiction treatment, but can't afford to get into Crossroads or for treatment. And of course, this is just a seed, and she hopes that it will become worldwide eventually. But for now, the premise is to share music and make people aware of this amazing charity. And so I was contacted by Malia and her office to submit some music, and it's great. So many artists have submitted. You can go to turnupforrecovery.org, not only to donate to this amazing charity, but to see all these fun videos. And a lot of the artists are doing them from home or their home studios, like Sheryl Crow, Robert Cray, Sonny Landreth. There's so many wonderful clips that have been done. And so when I was asked to, and I was very honored to submit some music, I thought I would like to work with the Restless Age, who I think they're amazing musicians that are here in the Hudson Valley. Lee Falco on drums, Brandon Morrison on bass, Will Bryant on keyboards. And we actually filmed that at Bearsville Theater. Robert Frazen did a fantastic job of filming. And there actually, I got it was one of the featured artist segments for Turn Up for Recovery. There's 3 songs, which you can see, they're archived, but Waltz for Abilene is the title cut from the new album. So that's why I wanted to give you to do that here.
It was a terrific cut, and
thank you.
Boy, that was really nice, pleasant to listen to. So that's about our show for tonight. You have a number of websites. I guess anybody can Google Cindy Cashdollar and come up with every place that they can find your stuff. That's what I did, obviously. Many CDs, many videos. Anything else that you think we might have missed or you would like to add at this point in time?
Oh, thank you. Well, my website is cindycashdollar.com, and my new album, Waltz for Abilene, came out right before COVID. But it has a lot of artists on it. I wanted to do an album that had all dear friends on it, friends that I have toured with over the years. So it's quite a variety of people in music. So Amy Helm's on there singing, Rory Block, Marcia Ball, Sonny Landreth, Albert Lee, Larry Campbell, Zach Tanikian, Byron Isaacs from the Lumineers. There is, and I know I'm Arlen Roth and John Sebastian playing amazing harmonica. And I hope when we're back to normal, my swing dance group here in the Hudson Valley, the Syncopators, which we play at the Falcon, I hope people will come back out for us and see us. My brother Russ Cashdollar's on drums, Andy Stack, Adrian Raju, Ryan Berg, Jeremy Baum. We have a great time playing music for folks. So I just want to say I hope everybody continues to stay safe and healthy, especially through this long winter. I want to thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It is our pleasure, and thank you for gracing our show. It's been lovely talking to you, listening to you talk, and listen to your enthusiasm as to the happenings in the past years. And we will look for Waltz for Abilene. I will pick that up myself, in fact. And we wish you the best after this pandemic is over. We want to come out and see you live. So
thank you so much. Thank you.
Everybody.
You and everybody. Thank you so
very much yourself. Thanks. Well, folks, that's our show for this evening. Tune in next Tuesday. We will have another special guest. Until then, be safe out there and support your local artists in any way you can. Thank you and good night.